The text message glowed on my screen at 2:37 a.m. I still think about you every day. 5 years of silence, and now this? I stared at those 8 words from Elijah, wondering how something so simple could make my heart feel like it was being simultaneously crushed and revived. If you've ever had that one person who got away, the one who still visits your dreams when you least expect it, then you know exactly what I felt in that moment. Stay with me until the end to discover if some loves are truly meant to find their way back to each other, no matter how many wrong turns they take along the way. If this story resonates with you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel for more stories that explore the complicated, beautiful mess that is human connection. I met Elijah Chen during freshman orientation at college. We were both lost, trying to find the same building for our mandatory campus tour. He had kind eyes and a laugh that made you want to be funnier just to hear it again. We became friends first, the kind who stayed up talking until sunrise about everything and nothing. I told him things I'd never told anyone else, and he listened like my words were precious. "Maya," he said one night as we sat on the roof of our dorm building, "I think I've been falling in love with you since the day we met." The stars above us seemed to pulse with possibility. I remember thinking that this must be what people write songs about, this feeling of your heart expanding beyond what your chest can contain. Our love was the kind that made people around us roll their eyes and say, "Get a room," but secretly wish for the same. We studied together, dreamed together, planned futures where we were always side by side. He was an engineering major with plans to build sustainable housing in developing countries. I was studying environmental science, determined to save what was left of our planet's wilderness. "We'll change the world together," he would say, tracing constellations on my palm like a map of our future. For 3 years, we were inseparable. But senior year brought job offers and graduate school acceptances, his in Singapore, mine in Colorado. We tried to make it work long distance. The 16-hour time difference became our enemy. Our video calls grew shorter, our texts less frequent. The distance wasn't just physical, it was as if we were becoming different people, shaped by different worlds. "I can't do this anymore," I finally said during a call where we'd spent more time in awkward silence than conversation. "I think we need to let each other go." He didn't fight for us. That's what haunted me the most in the years that followed. He simply nodded, his eyes wet with tears he wouldn't let fall, and said, "Maybe you're right." 5 years passed. I built a life in Denver, a good job with an environmental nonprofit, a small but cozy apartment, friends who dragged me out for hikes on weekends. I dated occasionally, but no one ever felt right. They weren't him. I'd almost convinced myself I was over Elijah when his message arrived in the middle of the night. "I still think about you every day." I stared at those words until my eyes burned. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, typing and deleting responses. What do you say to the person who once knew every part of you, but is now essentially a stranger? Finally, I typed, "I think about you too." 3 dots appeared immediately. He was typing. My heart hammered against my ribs. "I'm in Denver for a conference next week. Coffee?" 1 word. That's all it took to potentially upend my carefully constructed life. Yes. The cafe was crowded when I arrived, but I spotted him immediately. 5 years had added subtle lines around his eyes and a new confidence to his posture, but his smile, that smile that had once been my whole world, was exactly the same. "Maya," he said, standing as I approached. My name in his voice still sounded like a prayer. We ordered coffee and found a quiet corner. The first few minutes were awkward, polite questions about work, family, the weather. But then he laughed at something I said, and suddenly we were us again, talking over each other in our excitement to share the years we'd missed. "I've been following your work," he said. "The restoration project in the wetlands. It's incredible. And you? Singapore treated you well?" His eyes clouded slightly. "It was challenging. Rewarding professionally, but..." He paused. "I missed home. I missed a lot of things. The weight of what remained unsaid hung between us. Why now, Elijah? I finally asked. Why reach out after all this time? He took a deep breath. My father died last year. Oh, Elijah, I'm so sorry. I reached for his hand without thinking. It made me realize how short life is. How we waste so much time being afraid. His fingers intertwined with mine. I've had relationships since you. I've tried to move on. But they all felt like I was trying to recreate what we had. My throat tightened. I know what you mean. I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I just needed to see you. To know if what I remembered was real or if I'd built it up in my mind. And? I whispered. His eyes met mine. It was real. It still is, for me at least. That coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a walk along the river. One meeting became daily texts, weekend hikes, long conversations that picked up exactly where we'd left off 5 years ago. But we weren't the same people anymore. He'd grown more patient, less idealistic. I'd become more confident, less willing to compromise my needs. We circled each other cautiously, both afraid of making the same mistakes. I'm being transferred to our Denver office, he told me one evening as we sat on my balcony. It's a good opportunity. But I need to know if my being here would make things complicated for you. The question behind his question was clear: was there a chance for us? It would definitely make things complicated, I admitted. But maybe complicated isn't always bad. His smile was cautious but hopeful. So we take it slow? Glacially slow, I agreed. Taking it slow proved harder than we expected. We knew each other so well, yet we were discovering new versions of ourselves daily. The attraction between us was as powerful as ever, but now it was tempered by the wisdom of what we'd lost once before. 3 months after he moved to Denver, we faced our first real test. An opportunity came up for me to lead a 6-month project in Costa Rica, exactly the kind of work I'd always dreamed of doing. You have to take it, Elijah said immediately when I told him. I searched his face for signs of the old resentment, the fear of distance. Are you sure? We just found each other again. Maya. He took my hands in his. I lost you once because I couldn't support your dreams. I won't make that mistake again. But what about us? 6 months isn't 5 years, he said. And this time, we know what we're fighting for. Costa Rica was challenging, beautiful, and transformative. Elijah and I video called daily. He sent care packages with my favorite snacks and books he thought I'd enjoy. I sent him pressed flowers and stories about the local community I was working with. When I returned to Denver, he was waiting at the airport with a sign that read, "My favorite environmentalist," and a smile that felt like coming home. That night, as we lay tangled together in my bed, he whispered, "I never stopped loving you, you know. Not for a single day." I traced the familiar contours of his face. I tried to. I really did. But loving you is the most natural thing I know how to do. It wasn't all smooth sailing. We argued about small things and big things. We had to learn how to fight fairly, how to listen when it would be easier to walk away. We had to reconcile our individual dreams with our shared ones. A year after my return from Costa Rica, Elijah was offered a position leading a major sustainable housing project in Singapore. My heart dropped when he told me. "Are you going to take it?" He looked at me steadily. "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you'd consider coming with me." I stared at him. "You want me to move to Singapore?" "I want us to stop thinking that our dreams have to compete with each other." He took a small box from his pocket and opened it to reveal a simple ring with a stone the color of the ocean. "I want us to build a life together, wherever that takes us. I want to marry you, Maya." Tears filled my eyes. "But my work here. has connections worldwide. And Singapore has some of the most innovative environmental initiatives in Asia. He took my hand. I'm not asking you to give up your dreams. I'm asking if I can be part of them. We were married 6 months later in a small ceremony by the lake where we'd had our first date in college. My parents were there, beaming with approval. His mother cried happy tears. Our friends from college and our new lives mingled together, creating a tapestry of our past and present. I never thought we'd get here, I whispered to him during our first dance. I always hoped we would, he replied, holding me closer. We moved to Singapore the following month. It wasn't easy adjusting to a new country, a new culture, a new rhythm to our days. But we faced it together. I found work with an international conservation organization. Elijah's project flourished. We made friends, created a home, learned to navigate the complexities of married life. 2 years into our time in Singapore, I discovered I was pregnant. The fear and joy that flooded through me were overwhelming. Are we ready for this? I asked Elijah, showing him the positive test. His eyes widened, then filled with tears. No, he said honestly. But we'll figure it out together. Our daughter, Lily, was born on a rainy Tuesday. She had her father's eyes and my stubborn chin. Holding her between us in the hospital, I felt a love so fierce it was almost frightening. Look what we made, Elijah whispered, his finger caught in Lily's tiny grip. Parenthood tested us in ways we couldn't have imagined. Sleepless nights, career adjustments, the constant worry that we were doing everything wrong. But it also showed us strengths we didn't know we had. When Lily was 2, Elijah's project in Singapore came to an end. We faced another crossroads. Where to next? I asked as we sat on our balcony, watching the city lights while Lily slept inside. I've been thinking about that, he said. What if we started our own consulting firm? Combining sustainable architecture and environmental conservation. We could choose our projects, work from anywhere. The idea took root and grew. Within a year, Chinravera Sustainable Solutions was born. We moved back to the States but traveled frequently for work. Lily became a global citizen before she could even read, collecting stamps in her passport and friends across continents. Life wasn't perfect. We faced setbacks, projects that fell through, health scares, times when the balance between work and family felt impossible to maintain. When Lily was 7, we went through a rough patch that nearly broke us. We never see each other anymore, I said one night after another missed family dinner. We're living parallel lives in the same house. What do you want me to do? Elijah snapped. This project could make our company. I can't just walk away. I'm not asking you to walk away from work. I'm asking you to walk toward us. The argument escalated, old wounds reopening. For the first time since we'd reunited, I wondered if we'd made a mistake. That night, Elijah slept in the guest room. I lay awake, remembering the text that had brought us back together. I still think about you every day. Had we taken our second chance for granted? In the morning, I found him sitting at the kitchen table with coffee and a notebook. I couldn't sleep, he said. So I made a list of everything I love about our life together. It's 3 pages long. He pushed the notebook toward me. And then I made a plan for how we can fix what's broken. We restructured our company, hired more help, set boundaries around work hours. It wasn't an instant fix, but it was a commitment to prioritize what mattered most. As Lily grew, so did our understanding of what it meant to love someone through all of life's seasons. We celebrated her achievements, comforted her disappointments, watched in awe as she developed her own passions and dreams. She has your determination, Elijah said as we watched her practice for a science competition, refusing to give up on an experiment that kept failing. And your creativity, I added as she found an innovative solution. When she was 16, Lily asked us about how we met. We told her the whole story, the college romance, the painful separation, the years apart, the midnight text that changed everything. That's so romantic, she sighed. But also kind of sad that you lost all those years. Elijah and I exchanged glances. I don't think of them as lost years, he said. We needed that time apart to become the people who could make it work the second time around. Besides, I added, without that exact timing, we wouldn't have you. Lily rolled her eyes in typical teenage fashion, but I caught her smiling later as she looked through our old photos. 20 years after that fateful text message, Elijah and I stood together at Lily's college graduation. She was heading to graduate school, following in both our footsteps with a program that combined environmental science and sustainable development. We did good, Elijah whispered, squeezing my hand as we watched her accept her diploma. We did, I agreed, leaning into his familiar warmth. That night, as we lay in our hotel room, I turned to face him in the darkness. The lines around his eyes had deepened. Silver threaded through his once black hair. But when he smiled at me, I still saw the boy from freshman orientation who had changed my life. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't sent that text? I asked. He was quiet for a moment. Sometimes. But then I remember something my father told me before he died. He said, true love doesn't always get the timing right the first time. But it never gives up trying. I traced the contours of his face, memorizing him all over again. I'm glad you didn't give up. Never, he promised, pulling me closer. You're my first love, my ex, and my forever. Some circles are meant to close. So here we are, 20 years into our second chance. We've built a life I couldn't have imagined during those lonely years apart. Our work has taken us around the world. Our daughter is forging her own path. We've weathered storms and celebrated countless joys. And every year, on the anniversary of that late-night text, Elijah sends me the same message, I still think about you every day. My reply is always the same, I think about you too. Because some loves are worth waiting for. Some hearts find their way back to each other, no matter how many detours they take. And sometimes, the most beautiful love stories aren't the perfect ones, they're the ones that break and heal and grow stronger at the mended places. If you're out there wondering about the one who got away, or if you're in the middle of your own love story with all its complications and uncertainties, remember this, timing matters, but courage matters more. The courage to reach out, to try again, to forgive, to grow, to choose each other every day. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this journey. If our story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories about love, loss, and finding your way back to what matters most. Because in sharing our stories, we remind each other that we're never alone in our experiences, and that sometimes, the most unexpected text message can change everything.